All right, welcome back to the PHLY Eagles podcast, and it's time for our bi-weekly check-in with Mina Kimes of ESPN and the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. And Mina, I like how these are working out because every 2 weeks we're in a much different situation with the Eagles. Last time we talked, I believe the Kevin Patullo was in your in-laws' sights as like this guy needs to go. Since then, you have Jalen with a perfect passer rating in Minnesota, and then the best Eagles performance offensively in the last 2 years against the Giants. Has Mr. Patullo been cleared of all the charges as far as your in-laws are concerned?
I think he's still on thin ice. With me, I thought he called his best game of the season against New York. I was really impressed, and I actually think it's funny, right? Because obviously AJ Brown didn't play, but I think the balance that they achieved in that game is probably what makes it the most impressive to me. Because there's been games where they've had a good half, there's been games where the passing attack has looked good, but this is a game where it felt like everything was finally clicking. Felt the most like watching the Eagles offense last year. So if I'm an Eagles fan, I'd be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was the under center play action. It was we got a running back screen. We're thrown over the middle of the field. Like all of these things where it had felt like there was one game where they did one of those things, or one game where they did another one of those things. All of it put together, it made you feel like okay, maybe this offense can be uh, elite in a way that reflects the talent that they have on offense.
Yeah, the middle of the field aspect I think is really important because I was thinking about this, and we've talked about like kind of the landscape of the NFC. I was thinking about it vis-a-vis the 49ers, who could be a team that the Eagles maybe face in the first round of the playoffs. I don't know. And I was watching Houston versus them, and CJ Stroud just ripped them up over the middle of the field because they don't have Fred Warner anymore.
Mm.
The prior week, they faced the Falcons, who, frankly, similar to the Eagles up to this point, do not use the middle of the field, and they were not able to take advantage of the Niners' weakness at linebacker because of it, and it was a bad performance. And I think looking in advance, I think that's what you want to see from the Eagles. It's not like they have to do the same thing every game. It's not like they have to run the ball well in every game or throw over the middle of the field in every game or use play action every game. But you want to have those tools in your arsenal so that when you're up against a team in the playoffs, say, where that's their weakness, you want to be able to exploit that weakness. So I think just showing that they can do it is really important when you think about it from a matchup perspective.
And how about the running game? Because obviously, so much of this season was about trying to find what worked last year, and then they explode for 274 yards on the ground. And listen, it's not a very good Giants defense, but just to see them doing some of those things, what seemed different to you?
Well, it was a lot of duo. I'm sure you guys have talked about that, I imagine, but that was pretty stunning. I have to think that's probably the most duo run, certainly this year that I've
For
seen
them, for
out of
sure.
yeah. But yeah, it's been interesting watching as they've like continue adding little bit like layers and layers to the six offensive lineman stuff and then expanding it. And now we've got more of a play action passing attack. And this last week felt like, okay, cool, let's get in these looks and then let's run downhill. And it made sense again, going back to what I said about matchups against the Giants defense, where their defensive backs are not very good tacklers. That's the kind of run scheme you want to run against them. And I also think it's something that Saquon Barkley is very good at. So
Mhm.
much of what he does or what he did earlier in the season with the outside zone is moving laterally, but I think you really want to get him going downhill. So I think it played to his strengths. It felt like the first time all season long where the Eagles were controlling the line of scrimmage. And yeah, it was obviously led to some pretty explosive runs, which is cool to see.
All right, so here's my big picture question for you as the Eagles sit at the bye. So on offense, the Eagles are ninth in EPA per drive, 19th in success rate. On defense, 13th in EPA per drive, 21st in success rate. So of those two sides of the ball, which one are you more confident will be better in the second half of the season?
Oh, that's funny. Well, I think the defense is going to be better because they're either going to get Nolan Smith back and he's going to look like himself, or they're going to trade for a pass rusher. I
Hmm.
feel I would be surprised if they didn't. One of those two things, right? And if they trade for one, that might betray or not betray, but like shed some light on how they view Smith coming back from the injury. But the Eagles' defense, to me, they're still very good, but they really need help at pass rush and one would think that they would take steps organizationally to improve that. So it feels like a safer bet maybe to just improve by, because I don't think the offense is going to add any players. That said, does feel like the offense is starting to figure things out. So I suspect, to be honest, I think we're going to see improvement from both units.
Okay.
But I think with the offense, like it's been boom or bust. And I think with the defense, it's actually been a little bit more stable. They just need that extra gear.
So on defense, then you would
Yeah.
go edge rusher over a corner if you were making
I
a,
just
a
think
Howie
you're more
trade?
likely to get an edge rusher.
For
That's
sure.
why. Yeah,
For
like
sure.
I would love a corner, but the problem is half the league needs cornerbacks right now. It's slim. I'm sure you guys have like looked into who might be available. It's pretty slim pickings,
I got
man.
a couple either ors for you later, but yeah.
Okay. Whereas I actually think there's some pretty decent pass rushers who might be available both at the premium and like kind of the mid-tier range. So I think at that position, the Eagles are more likely to add an impact player. Although I'm sure Eagles fans would say we don't need an impact corner, we just need a competent corner, which maybe they could find one.
Right. Yeah, this is where this is Brandon Graham erasure. You're forgetting about BG getting back into the fold for the Eagles.
Podcast life was too hard. I get it.
Listen, he spent too much time with me. He needed to get back on the field. All right, I'll give you some of those now. Then
Okay.
let's go pass rusher first. If you are the Eagles, and then considering the price that likely is going to come with these guys, would you rather go for Jermaine Johnson or Bradley Chubb?
Ooh, Chubb's been better. I actually don't think Chubb would be that expensive because he's older in the contract. So that would probably be my preference as a player. Obviously, the devil is in the details in terms
Right.
of competition. So Bradley Chubb over Jalen Phillips, because I feel like Jalen Phillips
Now that
is
one,
that
I
way.
feel like that one is maybe too expensive.
Yeah. I think Chubb, he could still play. He
Okay.
still looks, yeah.
And then you think Jalen Phillips, like, would Jalen Phillips be worth a two in your mind?
And you got to pay him because he's
Yeah.
on the last year of his. A two is probably a little bit rich. Don't the Eagles have two threes? Am I
They have
wrong?
three threes.
Oh man,
Yes.
throw threes at
Yeah.
him.
Howie's, I mean, there's no way Howie's getting to the deadline with all three of those third round picks. But it is also interesting when you think about the big picture stuff for this roster because the weighting of resources on offense and defense is so different in terms of the timing where next year you're going to pay Jalen Carter. After that, you're going to pay Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and maybe Jahad Campbell eventually. Whereas eventually, like AJ and Devontae and these big offensive linemen, they have to flip that to younger guys. And so someone of the like Jalen Phillips time frame to me is like, I don't know if I want to pay a mid-career guy joining the rest of them, but we'll see what they do. All right, corner. I will give you Alontae Taylor from the Saints, or do you think about adding a nickel like Michael Carter from the Jets and then moving Cooper DeJean to the outside?
Yeah, I remember you and I talked very early in the season about me not wanting to move Cooper
Right.
outside,
And I
but
don't think they want to either, but
yeah,
it might
it
be
might be.
easier to find a nickel than an outside guy.
I actually think it is easy. You saw McCreary move from
Right.
Tennessee, who I thought he would have been a nice player for the Eagles, to be honest. Man, I don't know if either of those. I mean, I don't think either of them will be expensive. So honestly, either is probably fine.
You're not
Um,
a huge Alontae Taylor fan? We've
I
got people
mean,
here who are just banging the table for Alontae Taylor.
really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if the bar is competent corner play, then at least you
Yeah.
can probably get that with him relative to what you've been getting. So I'd love for them to leave Cooper DeJean at nickel, personally.
I think we all do. It's just fun to watch him there. All right, last one in the either ors, a tight end, which is becoming less of an obvious need since they're leaning into the Fred Johnson stuff. But Mark
Yeah.
Andrews or Chigo Okonkwo.
I want them to get some blocking tight end for like nothing, who's no one's
Jack,
ever heard of.
let's bring Jack Stoll back. That's what everybody is waiting for the parade.
Every week around the NFL, I'm watching like the Broncos or Commanders or whatever, and I'm like, who is that? And it's always some blocking tight end. I was watching Patriots tape, and I don't know why I didn't notice that they had converted that they used Westover as a fullback essentially,
Mm.
who was the Huskies tight end. That's the kind of guy the Eagles need. They need a tight end who can just get in there and block and catch one pass a year And no one knows his name outside of Philadelphia. That's the kind of player that I want for the Eagles. We don't Mark Andrews, sure,
Yeah.
luxury, but I want like a really gritty, unknown blocking tight
Mina,
end.
this is like a pet peeve of mine that they went through the entire offseason and didn't just sign an undrafted rookie tight end who could block. But
They
beggar, I
seem to
guess.
have like finally accepted that they can't run out of those looks.
Right,
So
exactly. Which maybe this is the message that Howie wanted to send all along. He wanted Fred Johnson on the field, and the coaching staff just needed to figure it out at his behest. Any final thoughts on just where the Eagles stand relative to the rest of the NFC at the halfway point? Because it certainly seems like this conference is much deeper than the
yeah,
AFC at the moment.
it definitely is. So every week I've been doing these top fives on my show Instagram, Mina Kimes Show. Go check it out. We're on Instagram now,
Good
and
plug.
I have not put the Eagles in there. But spoiler alert, Eagles fans, they will be in the top five NFL, not NFC, this week. You could tune in to find out where, or go follow, I guess.
What a tease! What
But
a pro!
I'm not gonna tell you where, but the other thing I'll say to your point is like, man, picking teams out of the NFC is really difficult, right? Because it's very obvious in the AFC, but in the NFC, you're looking at the Lions, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Eagles, the Niners, the Bucks are still in the mix, and actually like putting those teams in order right now is extremely difficult. I think the Eagles are capable of a ceiling that is at the top of that group, but we need to see some consistency, and I'd like to see more pass rush down. That's the thing that concerns me right now. So yeah, I'm very. I think they're just set in the NFC East the way
Mm.
things have gone with their competition, so you feel good about that. But as far as like the broader NFC goes, there's some pretty not just good but balanced teams that they're competing with.
Well, the good news is when we talk next, it will be after the Eagles have played the Packers
And
and
I
they'll
can't
be
wait.
about to play the Lions. So we'll get some
It's going to
short-term
be
answers there at
NFL
least.
is going to be in Green Bay for that game, and I've already been started thinking about it. And I'm like, damn, I really don't know who I'm going to pick. That's going to be an absolute hoss fight. I can't wait.
Although my NFL schedule complaint is, why do we have a Monday night game after the bye? It like don't you want to
Yeah,
save that? It's for show purposes. It's like, oh, an extra day of nothing to talk about. But
it's
that's
your problem, not mine.
that's Rogers. That's me and Rogers' disagreement. All right, thank you, Mina Kimes of ESPN. Check out the Mina Kimes show featuring Lenny and Mina wherever she is. Thank you so much, Mina. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Good to see you.
All right, back with
By the
more
way,
of the
Eagles
PHLY.
fans are mad at me for saying they should throw digs and crossers to AJ Brown today. I'm not saying I'm like it's there because I put like add him if you're gonna use play action. He was literally the greatest play action receiver in the NFL for 3 years
Right.
running. Like
Yes.
use him that way. All
There
right.
seems to be absolutely no reason that they can't just run the offense they ran last week with AJ getting some of those balls. Absolutely.
How many times was he wide ass open, just bodying dudes over the middle of the field? Anyways,
Well, let's
that's
see.
my
I mean, it is interesting. He's a different stylistic receiver than he was in Tennessee, and he's still like at the same level of per snap production.
yeah. He's
It's
still as
insane.
good. Every week I ask for something. I asked for more RPOs and more slide RPOs. The Eagles gave me the slide RPO touchdown. This is not my new thing that I'm asking for. AJ Brown in breakers, deep in breakers. That's what I want. Kevin Patuglo, I'm talking to you.
Patullo, Sirianni, Jeffrey Lurie, we know you're watching, and find out what Mina needs you to do on offense in a couple weeks. Thank you so much, Mina.